Back when you green, look how buddy was.
Changed up
On that side.
Why don't we use the plans that they use and then take them we could have did it all in one time. Well, as far as the resilience, we still don't know what they're going to do. Where they're going to put it. If it's coming, because it's all going to be. Well, but if it's a $2 million project, it's not that bad. I'm saying that.
Pledge of allegiance, Alderman Brooks.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it sustains, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Next invocation, Ms. Proctor, Dr. Proctor.
Let us pray. Most gracious and loving God, we thank you for this beautiful day that you have blessed us with. We thank you for our mayor and all of our aldermen, Lord, and alderwomen. We thank you, God, because you've been so good to us. Let everything be done decently in order today as we go through this meeting. And we'll forever give your name the glory and praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Jeff Cabell. Here. Brad Core. Here. Clint Crater. Here. Bob Logan. Vernon Martin. Here. Stephen Primo. Sammy Reggie. Here. Kim Stringfellow.
Here.
Byron Wildridge.
Present.
Okay. Thank you, sir. At this time, I would like to suspend our meeting and open up the public hearing.
And we have a public hearing for consideration of the ordinance on the Board of Aldermen of the City of Crowley to suspend the provisions of sections 2.211 dwelling units, 2.212 dwelling single family, 2.2.3 two family, 2.214 multiple family, 2.215 family, 2.226 manufactured home and manufactured housing, 2.227 mobile home parks, and 3.0 seal or label of section 2.2 of Article 2, definitions of pending state zoning, sections 3.25 R1 residential district, 3.3 R2 residential district, 3.4 R3 residential district, 3.5 R4 multifamily districts, and 3.9 C3 highway commercial districts. Article 3, the schedule of the district zoning regulations of Appendix A zoning. Section 5-2B, 3 International Residential Code IRC. Section R 10.1 through 4, temporary structures and uses in Appendix 3, manufactured housing used in dwellings. 5-2.3, imposition of fees and charges, Louisiana State Uniform Construction Code. And 5.4, permanent fees of Article 1 in the general of the construction code, and 5.4, permanent fees of Article 1 general chapter of 5 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Crowley. Section 5-22, permits required application, workmanship, moved buildings, and 5-23, inspection fees of Article 2, electrical, chapter 5 of the Code of Ordinances. Section 5-77, plumbing permits and plans required. 5-83, fees. 5-87, gas inspection permits. Of Articles 4, plumbing and gas filling of chapter 5 of the Code of Ordinances. Sections 8.2, adoption, 8.21, enforcement, and 8.25, restriction on storage of flammables of Article 2 of Chapter 8, Fire Prevention Code of the City of Crowley, relative to the use and occupancy of mobile homes, trailers, campers, and recreational vehicles, and other temporary housing structures to be located on the property of dwellings damaged or destroyed by a disaster or emergency, and the parish of McKay is included in a presidential declaration of a major disaster emergency to repeal all ordinances and parts of ordinances contrary hereto and conflict therewith, provide all the provisions hereof be severable, and provide for all matters relative thereto. Open the hearing with the appearance of anyone wishing to speak in favor of the adoption of the ordinance. First call for the proponents. Please come forward to the microphone. Second call for the proponents. Third and final call. Anyone wish to speak for the ordinance? Anyone, now we go to the opponents, or first call for the opponents. Anyone wish to speak against the ordinance, please come forward. Second call for the opponents. Third and final call. No comments being received, no one's stepping forward. Mayor, ask the hearing to be closed.
Public hearing is now closed. We will assume our regular meeting. Next, I would ask that if you look on your agenda, at number 11, item 8, is the ordinance that we have just discussed in the public hearing. I would like to move this up at the beginning of the meeting. An ordinance of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Crowley, Acadia Parish, Louisiana, to suspend provision of sections 2.211, dwelling unit. Okay. All right. 2.212 dwelling, single family, 2.213 dwelling, two family, 2.214 dwelling, multiple family, 2.215 family, 2.226 manufactured home and manufactured housing. And as it does read in the ordinance in front of you. I would ask for a motion, please.
Mayor, so moved.
I second the motion.
Offered by Mr. Cabell, seconded by Mr. Martin. Discussion?
This one.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, for the record, can you please tell the audience what this ordinance is for?
Yes, sir, absolutely. It is for whenever we have an emergency, and we call for an emergency, we declare it here in Crowley for a storm. What? When the president declares it, but it will be handed down all to us. And when the president declares it, when the governor declares it, when we declare it. And this is for people to be able to live in a, as it lists, mobile home, whatever it is, camper or whatever, while their homes are being repaired.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Ms. Stringfellow.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there a time limit that the homeowner has that they
It's it'll be effective during the emergency as handled by FEMA. Once the declaration is made of an emergency, the declaration ends after either 30 or 60 days, as you're probably aware. And the cleanup and all the other things, the repairs and everything go on and FEMA manages that, and it's under the Louisiana DOC, including parish and cooperating with the cities, and all these. What this does is allow people to rebuild their homes and to live let's say on the driveways. You've seen these campers in place there during that period of time until their home is able to be repaired. A lot of times, just like we had this time, we couldn't get roofing, you couldn't get plumbing parts. It took a while for this to. So it's during the FEMA build back. In fact, I know Baton Rouge is still doing it. My daughters, her husband, are still working on their home. They've been able to move back in. They moved out of the camper. Baton Rouge did the same thing. That's where this came from. Baton Rouge allowed this to work very well for them. So it's adopted statewide.
Also, Tom,
Mr. Martin?
if you don't mind, explain to also that the council, if we need more time, we can petition FEMA. We just have to show just cause. That's correct, right?
That is correct. In fact, if you noticed, President Biden has already extended the disaster declaration for Florida for 60 days. Obviously, with all that damage that was occurred at Sanibel and Fort Myers. Those kinds of things happen all the time. Unfortunately, now it's much more frequent.
Mr. Reggie?
So this would be a total hypothetical. What happens if, let's say, a landlord doesn't fix the house, and then the people live in the trailer for indefinitely because the house never gets fixed?
Okay.
Quick question.
I'm not sure about the answer to that. If there's any way to force the landlord, that would be up to FEMA and GOSA. I suppose if they're given money for that, we'd have to look into what the regulations are. Mr. Martin may have some information that I'm not aware of.
For those of you who don't know, I'm one of the, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Martin.
I'm one of the developers in the state of Louisiana, and we go through this all the time. Normally what they do, if the landlord is delinquent by holding back, they would hold back the funding, okay? In other words, they look at everything, they have a timeline, okay, to fix your roof, it shouldn't take you 2 months to fix the roof. They look at the damages on your property, and they assess at that time, okay? Now, remember, it's the tenant, it's not the landlord, okay? The landlord has to provide for that tenant. In other words, the tenant living in the hotel, whatever, and they rented $500 a month, well, for $500, they can stay in that hotel, whatever. I know it won't be long, but it's up to the amount of rent that's being paid. And the other one, if the landlord does not do their due diligence, well, then there'll be civil action on that. So
kind of like it would be a repair evaluation.
exactly. They'll send an inspector over and they'll tell you, okay, you got, this work here should be 30 days. Well, 30 days is your mark from the time that they sign off on it. And they'll come back within 30 days. If not finished, well, then normally the landlord get penalized. But it's up to the tenant to file whatever the civil action.
Mr. Craig?
Yeah, I think the concern is that there's no time limit. So somebody can live in a FEMA trailer. Once they get in a FEMA trailer, they can live there for 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years. I think.
No, sir.
No.
So what's the time limit?
FEMA has the enforcement power on
There
this.
you go.
So what is the time limit?
There is no time limit. It's based on the circumstances.
That's the problem. Okay.
But it's not a problem.
No,
If you can't get material, it's not a problem. They're allowed to stay there. If they've got reasonable things, FEMA will continue that permit for that particular facility. That's how they do this. There are a lot of regulations. Mr. Martin is probably more familiar with that, but there are FEMA regulations. GOSEP is required to manage those regulations. FEMA monitors that. There's audits that take place. There are inspectors that come out. There are reports that are filed. You'll be getting a report on how many units are repaired. You've seen that before when we have these disasters.
Yes, we're
still getting reports. You know, we've had I think it was 4 or 5 new seminars about this and there. I've listened to one on a webinar. there's a lot of new information coming down about how they're gonna manage all these things, because the same thing's happening in Florida and the other states.
And trust me, Miss Ashley is very on top, she is on top of all of her game, I promise you that. And Ashley can give you all this information a lot better than we can. Yes?
Thank you, Mayor. And Miss Ashley actually told me that she offered to come and explain it to us, but he told her that we didn't need it. But anyway, I just was wondering, with the timeline and all that, but is this the same, our ordinance is written the same that other municipalities have or passed?
Our ordinance is based on our ordinances, all these suspensions, with respect to the ordinances that we have in place. You know, but the general language that we use is if you look at the Disaster Act, Amendment 526, regarding the temporary housing and shelter assistance, and that is the declaration that you're making. You know, we're looking at the city and the parish must submit a certification that goes in that a waiver of land use regulations and permitting, inspection, and fees has been made by the local entity. So this list, this long list that I read, has all those items in it for that very purpose, so that no one has any problems saying, well, the neighbor wants to complain. I understand Mr. Peter's concern, but just because the neighbor's complaining about the house isn't finished, that doesn't give them a right to have somebody removed if FEMA goes to determine that there's a reasonable basis for that work to continue. If not, as Mr. Martin says, there's an administrative penalty, and it's a civil action to remove them.
Mr. Gordon?
Tom, what is on the second page, I think the fourth paragraph, talks about temporary orders will expire in 60 days.
Yeah,
What does that relate to?
That's the emergency ordinance that you passed. That relates to the emergency ordinance. This is the replacement for the emergency ordinance.
Right.
Because it expired in 60 days, which is the end of this month.
Back when we passed an emergency ordinance.
Yes, that's what
They take that place, which lasts for 60 days until we get this passed.
This is your replacement ordinance that we have to furnish, because every year this has to be annually done. They have to issue that certification each year that goes that this is in place. I'm sorry, the certification has to be done each year. And the city of Crowley has the provisions ready for this to occur in the event that the president declares a major disaster for Acadia Parish, and the city of Crowley is included in that. That's the only time this goes into effect.
All right, Mr. Reggie?
Yeah, what I was getting at is like, last time I drove through Lake Charles, they still have stuff on,
Exactly.
tarps on roofs. So what happens if those people don't even have insurance? They'll be allowed to stay,
That's where FEMA steps in.
and then they'll tell them when they can and can't
That's
have a
correct.
trailer.
That's correct. Okay, any further discussion? Oh, Mr.
Yeah,
Martin?
just want to clear up with Alderman Reggie. See the way it works, Reggie? FEMA issues, in other words, start from the beginning. With us doing this right here, FEMA supersedes everything, but they want to make sure that our city is in compliance. Okay, meaning, okay, if we don't do this ordinance, it's a done deal for them. They're not coming to help nobody or whatever, because what they're telling you is this. Our code may say, well, you have 30 days to fix the home, okay? Theirs may come in like, this is 60, all right? And if there's any more time to be just, and look, I'm in Lake Charles all the time, but there is the blue roofs. But the bottom line is this, it's between the tenant and the landlord. If the tenant is happy, that's not a problem, okay? Now, if there's no insurance, well, they got money that's coming down now for it. It just now getting here, matter of fact, it hasn't gotten it yet. But the money from Laura and Delta, okay, I spoke to Nick team a while back, the mayor of Lake Charles, and we're gonna leave 2 crews over there regardless, okay? And they basically working for pennies on the dollar just to get it done, because if the hurricane that hit Florida would have hit this one right here, it would have been a start over all over again. So basically what's happening right here, there is no timeline, but FEMA keeps an in-depth record of everything done. And they will call the tenant, tell them, you know what I'm talking about. And they ask the tenant, are you satisfied with what's going on? If the tenant say no, well then that's when they come in. Okay, and they'll give the ultimatum, and if they're on Section 8 or what have you, They cut it.
And Mr. Martin is correct, because we have to fill out reports periodically to satisfy the compliance for FEMA. Okay. Roll call vote, please. Any further discussion?
Jeff Cavell,
Yes.
Brad Cole,
Yes.
Clint Crater,
Yes.
Lyle Fogman. Going down the list. Vernon Martin,
Yes.
Sammy Reggie,
Yes.
Kim Stringfellow,
Yes.
Byron,
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, it does pass. And I'm sure all the people who will appreciate that if it ever comes, and we hope to God and pray that it does. All right, next, if you look on that same page, item number 12 is resolution. I'm going to move that one up as well. Resolution, Mayor, Board of Aldermen of the City of Crowley, Katy Parish, Louisiana, accepting the bid submitted by Supreme Rice LLC for the purchase of lots 4, 5, and 6 in the east 33.9 foot, lot 3 in the west 15.1, south 54 foot, of lot 3 in the east 25.9 foot, of the south 54 foot of lot 2, block 3, City of Crowley, including all buildings and improvements situated thereon. And that portion of Front Street between North Avenue C and West Avenue, measuring 50 by 1,060 or 53,000 square feet, 1.217 acres, except for reservations of minerals and servitudes. Authorizing execution of cooperative endeavor agreement, CEA, and act cash sale in the amount of $54,000 and no cents dollars. The execution, delivery of all documents associated therewith, and necessary thereto, and to provide for all matters relative thereto.
Offered. Second.
Offered by Mr. Martin, seconded by Mr. Cavell. Discussion? Mr. Corn?
Yes, sir, Mayor. The proposal for the cooperative endeavor agreement of qualified economic development, can you share with us what the property is going to be utilized for in that regard?
It's going to be utilized for the Supreme Rice Mills. They want to be able to build, and I'll tell you what, he's here right now. He can do it better than I can.
And here, we also have, if you look at the resolution, and the whereas, it's included in the whereas about the CEA being compliance and all the, look at the second paragraph of the resolution, itself, be further resolved, the CEA can't set about the other valuable consideration, flat in the second page, and bottom of page.
Yes, I was looking at the ordinance that we passed.
Yeah, okay, it's a resolution. Yeah, second page of the resolution describes it, and goes on to the, Danny, you talked about it.
Yeah, it's pretty flat, I'm trying to get,
Yeah, so,
take it out,
I'll
of
tell
the
you,
bid requirement.
right, in fact, I didn't bring the packet, I guess I did that, but,
I got mine then.
there you go. So, Steph came and see me about it a couple weeks ago, and so I shared him a little packet I put together. But what we're gonna do is, right now, when the trucks come in to Supreme, they come in off of Western and they pull in. And then from there, and I'm talking about rough flash trucks, to see, this is what this is gonna do. And then they go on to Mill Street, turn in, get weighed, get probed, and then back on Mill Street to go get dumped. So they span the whole length of our facility to get dumped from the rice. What we plan to do is take Front Street, and we're also leasing the property from BNSF directly south of there, contiguous with the road property. And in fact, I sent them, we just about have that wrapped up. But what we'll do is basically put 2 lanes of traffic, 2 roads there, utilizing Front Street and then building another. And then having the trucks turn in to there, the rough waste trucks, where we will have our quality control there, we'll grade the trucks there, we'll weigh the trucks there, keep them off of Mill Street. What they will do is, once they're checked and ready to go, The scale house will tell them, they go ahead, they're gonna go down Front Street, further down to Avenue C. So they'll turn into, they're just gonna go over the tracks and then turn right into us, to go. At that point, once they're empty, they're gonna come back around, get on Mill Street, take a left. But they would be on Avenue D, so now they're gonna be on Mill Street, take a left, and then take another left to come out. So they're gonna, we may have to go 2 blocks down on Mill Street, but we're trying to avoid it as much as possible. Once that's done, we plan to take our docks, which will run perpendicular to Mill Street, and we're gonna move them facing east, which will be parallel to Mill Street, where the trucks will not have to make a big U-turn across Mill Street, hold up traffic, and come back to that. So that's the plan. And we're gonna be increasing the capacity of the mill. There will be a lot more trucks coming into Crowley to receive rice, a lot more trucks going out of Crowley with milled rice. So it's, for us, that's economic development. We hire more people, but this is really key for us to get done.
Yes.
Yeah, and also to bring you up to Mike. And then we also have there about portable rice.
Right.
Portable rough rice is going to be built in family.
We broke ground on our four-ball facility in Mermentau last week, in fact. They're digging dirt right now. And the plan for that is to do the four-balling over there, which is basically cooking rice in the rough state from the farmer directly, then drying it after that, and then we're going to truck it to Crowley. We're going to take it over to already. We're going to refurbish that. That's going to be our four-ball. And so we'll be receiving that.
And what do you plan to do with the existing buildings out there now?
Which ones?
On the site that's,
Cajun bag, old Cajun bag
Yeah.
building? It'll probably come down.
both of the metal building in the back as well? One on the south side of the property, one on the front.
That's all the same, that's done.
No, I think it's the
It's a metal
same.
structure, but I don't
Yeah.
know what frame.
If the structure's not in good condition, it comes down. We could use some warehouse space, but we don't need to.
Sure.
We got nothing
I
to do with
I
it.
appreciate the explanation, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You bet.
Mr. Anderson.
Anything else?
Yeah, just.
Just one.
All right, then, when we had our conversation, one of the things that you emphasized, and I thought it was the biggest deal, not only for economic development, not only for economic development, but the fact that you're behind people, but also, have you seen the traffic when your trucks are in? Okay, you only have one lane, and you and I, we agreed 100% that that's the biggest gift that we're gonna have with the city, because now traffic can flow east and west without going around the trucks and what have you. And the other thing, I just have one question for you, man. I know the building don't have no value, but can you at least give us $1 for the building, you know, just make it look good? I mean, you know, we're not supposed to give away nothing free. If y'all, look, you got an extra $1, man, look.
We can work something out.
Yeah, just make that check, add the $1 to the end. And we'll take it out. But look, man, I appreciate what y'all doing. I want to thank you for taking the time we've been explaining to me, because I was confused. I couldn't understand what they was doing. But ladies and gentlemen, I have to check. The plan that they have is going to be top notch. And I think it's going to be a big deal for the city of Crowley. And like you said, with that Paul bar, and man, I'm glad you brought that up and talk. Because that's big. That's for people that don't know how to cook rice like yours too. It is what it is. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, no further discussion? All in favor? All in favor? Sorry, opposed? Thank you very much. All right, next there was another resolution of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen, City of Crowley, authorizing the mayor to sign and submit the cooperative endeavor agreement between the state of Louisiana and the City of Crowley for the planning and construction work associated with the proposed City of Crowley Pavilion. Remember, this is only about the CA, it's not about constructing anything. This is just a formality of work and language. Mr. Cabell,
I'll offer the motion, Mr. Mayor.
offered by Mr. Cabell. No second. It is in. I'm sorry. Yes, that's correct. It did die for lack of second. On that, and I said it ended. All right. Okay. Next, we don't have any appearance. And see any agenda amendments?
Where there was,
I'd like to amend the agenda, if I may.
And what is?
I'd
what
like
is your
to-
reason?
Amend the agenda to go into executive session to discuss our lawsuits that we have pending against the city.
You get 24 hours.
Yep, that, yeah.
That's 24 hours
24 hours prior notice. We can
Executive
go into
session.
executive session. So we can't do that on this furthermore. All right. Okay.
got an amendment as well, ma'am? I'm gonna yield to Byron on this because of his, committee. Basically, just to give a synopsis of it, the American Legion 504 is celebrating 75 years this year, with existence. And I think it would be a credit, to the city of Crowley to offer them a building that would be conducive to the people. Because right now, the building that they have is a very small building, and they want to invite as many people as possible to it. But the problem is they're reduced to using what they got. So I would like to offer an amendment that we allow them to use the building. The Martin Luther King Center, I think you'll be there doing the proclamations on that.
I am, I'm from Wakefield.
Okay, and basically allow them to use the use of the building with the understanding that we'll do the same as we've done for Homeland Civic and Social Club. We'll put down the deposit for the cleanup. And if the cleanup is satisfactory to the superintendent who's ever over there, that they be refunded their deposit.
All right, so I'm gonna comment on Mr. Martin's requesting for the agenda amendment. First of all, they have to prove that they, and we know that they're the American Legion 506, and they are a 501c3.
Exactly.
Our policy and procedure does offer a discounted price. However, what they're hosting is not a public purpose. What they're hosting is an event for the 506, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
It's an event for the 506.
Well, I disagree with that. I mean, there's people that are invited. So basically, when you use the term, I'm a part of 3 different fraternities and numerous civic and social clubs. And I have to say, it's not for members of the American Legion only. That would simplify the existence of them. If they would go and say just American Legion members can come in.
No, they can invite whoever they want.
Exactly. So that means it transcends into it's issued to the public. Okay, whatever member wants to invite whatever person, that's their privilege. So it goes into a different segment. Okay, had it been, and I'll say it again, under the reserve statute of the state of Louisiana, okay, any private entity, has a right for what we call notable members to participate in a members only, whether it's a venue or gathering. But this is not a members only gathering. This is a celebration of 75 years. Okay, something the city of Crowley should be and proud of. Just to say that we have American Legion. I don't know what the other folks, how long the other one's been here, and I'm not going to speculate on it. But at the end of the day, when you look at it for what it is, it's the pride of people that serve in the military. We have one over here that served this time in the military, and so I think at the end of the day, if we would just, look not look the other way, but just use it for what it is. Okay, we have people that gave their lives to the American Legion, so let's honor them by doing this. And it's not a private event. No, I disagree with that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's your opinion, but anyway, you're asking for an amended agenda amendment, and we're going to get a vote. And so, yeah, I need a second, please.
I second.
Seconded by, you got it? Seconded by. Okay. Now I need a unanimous vote for discussion. Well, any discussion? I know we just discussed it, but get it first. Yes, sir.
Can we get a legal opinion on the matter? Can we get a legal opinion on the matter, whether it is the right, if the city can't afford to do such a rental or use or co-sponsorship?
The only provision that you have for that is to co-sponsor. You got to co-sponsor an event like this. That's what our rules require with co-sponsors. The assessment has to be made that there is a public purpose that is being served, not just that people from the outside that the public can go in or be invited to attend these ceremonies. But unless there is a public purpose that is measured, this is one of these intangible benefits that you have to measure. You know, is there a public purpose that's served by this to co-sponsor a celebration for an entity? Because I don't see anything that the public gains from that. You know, that's the issue, whether or not there is something that the public benefits from. And unless I'm not seeing what there is there, Mr. Martin, is there some public benefit? Is there an educational program? Is there some sort of a sponsorship that the city is going to receive, some citizens of Crowley are going to receive some benefits? It sounds like the celebration is directed towards honoring these people and these veterans, which is certainly a very worthwhile and proper thing to do. But the Constitution prohibits the use of public funds unless the city can be involved in offering a utilization or some measurable contribution to the benefit of the citizenry as a whole, for the good of the city of Crowley. And that's the issue here, because the celebration of 75 years of existence and recognition of the people there does not serve a public purpose for the rest of the citizens of Crowley in terms of a tangible benefit.
Okay, if I may, the tangible benefit is very simple. The people will get a chance to learn who fought, who died in the city of Crowley that was part of the American Legion. That's tangible, okay? It's a learning. People don't know who all was ever part of the American Legion. They don't know who died, whether they were killed in action or just passed away, what medals that they had, how many Purple Hearts we have. And the other thing is that they don't know anything about the Buffalo Soldiers. So, I mean, when you think about it, that's more experience than one would have in a lifetime. So
is there an educational program that's attached to this?
It is.
What is the education, other than having a recognition of those names, what is the educational program going to consist of? That's, I think, what the council will need to evaluate.
Okay,
in terms of whether it's a tangible benefit, if someone is going to present something that is going to be informative, like a seminar or something like that, that is going to be sponsored, they'll have something in connection with this that the public is invited to attend. Those are the kinds of things that, it's up to the council to ask those questions when they vote on this, before they vote on this, when the motion comes up. Because all you're doing is amending the agenda. At this moment, you're asking for an agenda amendment. So the question will be whether or not the council has to make an evaluation that they believe that that tangible benefit exists in some form that the public is going to receive an educational, charitable benefit that's broadly expected to impact the lives of people here in Crowley.
So basically, it's up to the council.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right, at this moment, you're asking for a vote. Roll call, please. Mr. Stringfellow?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Cabell?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Wilridge?
Yes.
Mr. Crater?
Yes.
Mr. Reggie?
Yes.
Okay. Amendment does pass. Please make note, and we'll bring that back up in the public buildings. All right. Next, approval of the minutes, regular council meeting held on September 14th, 2022.
Offer.
By Mr. Martin, seconded by Mr. Woolridge. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Next is the mayor's report. You do not have a sales tax chart or a budget analysis. We did not receive the sales tax payment, so there is no way that we could actually give you a good and accurate number at this time. But as soon as we do get that, the clerk and I have already discussed that, we'll get those numbers to you as soon as possible.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
It's been some time since we've received monthly financial reports. Is there a problem with getting that information?
We will check into how easy access we can give them. I mean, the extension, but you do extension. at some point in time, get you around 15%?
15 or 16, which we're going to
Okay.
So that's usually whenever we'll have some kind of number.
Yes,
Okay.
we'll make it accurate for you.
Okay, and what about the computer software system? I know we've been talking about that for almost 3 years. That we would have access to a station at City Hall to review all of this.
And we are working on that. They are in conversation.
I mean, any,
No leeway just yet. No, sir.
okay, thank you.
Okay?
But I have one more question, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Has the city received the second tranche of the ARPA funding yet?
Not yet. We're going to get it this week. We hope. We hope.
Right.
Okay? User fee. Okay, so we don't have that yet. Okay, but as soon as we round all of that information up, as soon as we get the check and balance everything up,
Well, Mr. Mayor,
we'll send it to
if
you.
I may,
Yes, sir.
the money is in the state, that I can tell you. Okay, I'm not sure if, Shirley have, started issuing out checks yet, cutting checks, but the money is in the state. The Treasury Department has sent out the money. I don't know how they plan on divvying up, but the money's here.
Okay. All right. Next is standing committee reports, Public Works Committee. Mr. Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. The Public Works Committee convened Wednesday, October 5th, 2022 at 4 p.m. in the council chambers and a quorum was present. Under action items, a motion was offered by Alderman Vernon Martin and seconded by Alderman Brad Court to authorize partial payment estimate number 10 under Glenn Leger Construction LLC contract for the citywide street improvements contract 8 in the amount of $55,980.48. That motion carried and I so move.
Second. Offered by Mr. Prater, seconded by Mr. Core. Discussion? Oh, Ms. Stringfellow?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I just have a question about the roads and the drainage. And what's the recommended minimum required catch basin for an 18-inch pipe?
I don't understand that question.
The 18-inch pipe, is there a recommended catch basin size?
If we design a drainage system, we will design the geometry of the catch basin that fits the 18, but I'm not sure I understand your question.
So it doesn't have to correlate the catch basin. Like if you have a huge pipe, small catch basin, is that a problem with the drainage?
I'm really sorry, I don't get the question. If you have 18 or 24 or 36 or 48, you will have a catch basin that is built around that junction to fit.
I think she's talking about the inlet, right?
Yeah, the inlet, yeah.
Come at the top.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm a girl here, so,
Yeah.
help me out, guys.
Okay, I'm really trying to understand, are you wondering?
The drain, the part that's the drain.
The opening
it's in
at
the
the top?
ground. Yes.
Yeah,
Whatever
that's-
that's called.
That's a catch basin. If we design it as a public works project, it will be probably on the order of 18 inches by 18 inches or 24 inches by 24.
So it should correlate with the size of the pipe.
No. The pipe could be 48, but you still may only need it 18 by 18 or 24 by 24.
Okay. Okay.
And those are the size breaks that we do keep in stock, mostly 24 by 24.
Okay. Yeah, and I've seen those, but, there's some new construction that we're doing by Sonic, and those are very small. So that's what I was wondering.
We didn't design
So.
those. I think those might be precast,
That was
Okay.
Before,
Okay. Mr. Craig?
Maybe I can expand on it a little bit, because I went and looked at it. Also, I got a call as well, and what it is, Tim, is that there's 18-inch pipe that just put in over there by Salvador's, but the catch basin, the top of the catch basin is only 16 inches, and it seems pretty small for that size of pipe. I think that's what Ms. Stringfellow is alluding to, and I kind of agree. So I think the question is there some kind of engineering practice that says that if you have an 18-inch pipe, you should have a 18-inch opening or a 24-inch opening or something like that? Because if you look at it, they look pretty small. I mean,
not follow what you're saying. No, the ability for the drainage system to take on stormwater would be in how many of these catch basins you have, not the size of the opening at the top of each one.
Okay, is there a certain, I guess, footage between catch basins, and is there a recommended practice for that? I thought it was like 40 feet, but I don't remember exactly what it is. But should there be a catch basin every 40 feet for 18-inch pipe, or is it just whatever the contractor thinks they do?
It needs to fit the lay of the land contour. You don't want to put a catch basin where the property is high because no water will get into it. So you're also governed by where are your low spots versus where are your high spots.
And I think where all this discussion came about, and I got the phone call as well, was that the resident was required to put a certain size catch basin on their property leading up to this. And then this project was tied into their project, and these catch basins are only 16 inches, and I think theirs are probably maybe 24, I'm not sure exactly. But they were concerned that why did they have to put such large catch basins and pay for such large catch basins when the city put these in and they're not 40. I mean, there's only a couple of them there, and they're a lot more than 40 feet apart, and they're only 16 inches. So I think that was the question, was why did I have to put such large catch basins, and the city puts these in, and they're so small, and there's not very many of them. There's only like 2 of them in that long span. And so I don't know if there's an answer to that question or not, but
Okay.
I couldn't answer the question.
All right, I'm going to end this conversation. I'm going to let one more go. We're getting away from calling a vote.
I think I can answer that.
Mr. Martin.
Okay, basically, you're dealing with city ordinance compared to state ordinance. Okay, you got to remember that.
This is city.
This city? Okay, basically, the catch basins are, believe it or not, they're smaller as 12 by 12. Tim, you know what I'm talking about? Some people like to go into this. And you got 18 by 18, 24 by 24, 36 by 36. Now, Tim, if I'm not mistaken, the GPS, which is gallon per second, is still 33, the drainage? On the slant? Because I remember us using some numbers with that a while back. It had, in other words, it has to be ratio that the drainage has to drain at so many gallons per second or minute or something like that.
Again, I'm not sure what you're alluding to there.
Well, I mean-
Usually drainage is designed by cubic feet per second.
That's what I want to say, cubic feet. Okay, that's what I'm saying, cubic feet. I knew it was something, not gallon. I apologize, not gallon. Okay, but it's so many per second, correct?
Yes.
On the drain, okay, but I think, it's up to really your pocketbook. But I didn't know the city mandated that they had, what size does the city mandate?
15.
15?
That's pipe.
That's pipe. I'm just saying,
That's
what size catch
Catch
base?
basin. That's what we're asking.
Well, if you got a 15, you want to do at least a 24 catch base. That's what I would think. You might be able to get 18.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Continue with it.
It's 16.
Let's move on. Let's stay on track. We're getting off track here on the agenda.
Yeah, I get paid to say this.
Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
The motion was offered by Alderman Vernon Martin and seconded by Alderman Byron Wilridge to approve partial payment estimate number 5 to Glenn Leger Construction LLC for the citywide street improvements contract B in the amount of $775,580.91. That motion carried, and I so moved.
Second.
Offered by Mr. Crater, seconded by Mr. Cavell. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Mayor, if I may, I want to clear up one possible point of confusion about the discussion, is that the question that you were asking, and you too, Clint, that construction was not a part of either one of these contract A or contract B. Okay, so I just want to be sure that those were not done in our plans and specifications.
Okay, everybody said aye. Opposed? All right.
Under non-action item, Mr. Albert John, the Public Works Director, delivered a monthly report. The Street Commissioner, Mr. Gilbert Othing, was not present to deliver a monthly update. Mayor Tim also gave updates, and I spoke to Mr. Othing yesterday, and he is doing better, but he actually had a bypass, so he may be out for a while. Alderman Vernon Martin gave his opinion on individuals trimming trees at St. Teresa Park, and discussion ensued. City Engineer Tim Mader delivered a monthly report. Mrs. Joni Schindel lives on the west side of Bicentennial Park at 651 West 17th Street and complain about overgrowth in ditches, which causes drainage issues around Bicentennial Park. There was no further business to come before the Public Works Committee, and the committee recessed.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, next is Utility Committee, Mr. Martin.
Yes, sir. Utility Committee convened, I'm sorry. Utility Committee convened Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, at 4 p.m. in council chambers. On the action items, a quorum was present. On the action items, a motion was offered by Alderman Jeff Corvell and second by Alderman Sammy Reggie to approve partial payment number 4 to NCMC LLC in the amount of $33,141.47. That's a good number, Tim?
Yes, sir.
For the citywide sewage system repair project. Motion carried and I so move.
Offered by Mr. Martin, seconded by Mr. Lewis. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Under non-action items, wastewater superintendent Tim Crowley gave a monthly wastewater report, and city engineer Tim Mader presented the monthly engineering report. There was no further business to come before the utility committee recess.
Thank you. Next is Recreation Committee. Mr. Primo's not here. Mr. Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. The Recreation Committee meeting convened Wednesday, October 5th, 2022 at 4 p.m. in council chambers, and a quorum was present. Under action item, the motion was offered by Alderman Jeff Cavell and seconded by Alderman Vernon Martin to authorize the preparation of construction plans and specifications for construction of new restrooms at Miller Stadium and Hinkins Park for remodeling existing restrooms at Hinkins Park, for an umpire dressing room and air-conditioned existing restrooms at the Bronco concession stand, and referred to the Revenue and Finance Committee for appropriation of funds. And that motion carried, and I so move.
Second.
Offered by Mr. Krieger, seconded by Mr. Cavell. Discussion.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'm in favor of authorizing plans and specifications for restrooms, but I found it unnecessary to appropriate money at this time until we have plans and specifications completed for the project. And I'd like to move to amend the agenda just to go ahead and authorize plans and
To
specifications.
amend the motion, you mean? Amend the motion, is
Yes.
what you're saying? Okay.
But not to appropriate funds just yet.
Well, it doesn't say anything about, well, it does.
It does.
For an appropriation of funds, but it moves to that point. The Revenue and Finance, but it's not moving to Revenue and Finance at this point. You're only in Recreation Committee at this point. Mr. Smith?
If I understand it correctly, what would happen is that once you accept it, it will go back to Revenue and Finance Committee where you would have an option then to be able to appropriate funds and look out and appropriate funds.
That is correct.
That's
That's what you were looking for?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, that is correct. That's what it does read.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Mr. Martin.
Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, we have to go back to the minutes, but I do not remember seconding that. That's what I'm saying. I wasn't even on the committee, so how can I second? Okay, I did not second that. So let's clear that. Let's clear the air right now. I'm not even on that committee, so how can I second it? Oh, now it's passing around. Okay, as long as you take my name off it. I didn't second.
I made the motion, Lenny seconded, now there's only 3 people on the
Talking
committee.
about the committee.
Right.
At the committee meeting.
He's not on the committee.
That's right.
Not on recreation.
That's
I
right.
understand, but what happened?
I can't second that. I'm not on the committee.
You second.
And I don't
There were
remember
2
seconding
to 1
that.
vote, and that was the vote.
And then chances are, I would just miss one.
Names got transferred. That's all.
Just the name got transferred.
Well, let's get it right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So I'll fix my committee
There you go.
Thank you.
minutes, and I'll scratch out Vernon Martin, and I'll put myself.
It was offered by Mr. Cavell and seconded by Mr. Craig. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Stringfellow.
Thank you, Mayor. We had asked for the business plan, the updated business plan.
It is being worked on, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So it's not ready yet?
Not yet, no, ma'am.
Okay.
Mr. Reggie?
I guess the only thing I had a problem with last week, and I still have a problem with, I guess, this week, is the amount of what we need to do as far as making umpire restrooms and air conditioning, everything. And I think maybe we could just do a $200,000 bathroom project, not a $600,000 bathroom project. That's where I have the problem.
It's not just one bathroom.
I understand, but I think it doesn't actually have everything laid out of what everything we're gonna do, except that we're gonna make some more bathrooms, renovate some, air condition some, and make some umpire dressing rooms too. I don't know personally if we need to do all of that, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, we can help, you know, we can put our input on the design. That's why we had asked for the architect to come up with a design. That's what Mr. Cole was just talking about. And making sure that we have these designs so we can bring it to the council. And then we can make adjustments at that point, because it's not finalized. Once he draws it, you know, we'll bring it to the council and let you guys look at it. And then we'll finalize it at that point.
Mayor, if I may,
Okay.
would you help answer this question?
Okay.
Yeah, the rec director isn't here tonight, but everything that's being proposed has been recommended and urged by the recreation director. That's why it's what it is. That's why you have 2 bathrooms and you have a renovation of one for the dressing room, and you have air conditioning of a rock restroom. All those items were recommended by your rec director as a vital need for the operation.
And if I may, I'm coming to you, Mr. Crater. If I may give some input, it's highly recommended by a lot of the people who come here from out of town. And if we don't build these bathrooms, we will not have tournaments. But, Mr. Crater.
Yeah, and look, I agree with getting the construction plans and specifications for this and letting us look at it and see what we're gonna do. But I'm in agreement with Mr. Core that I think we should scratch out the refer to Revenue and Finance Committee for appropriation of funds, because I'm afraid that if we do that and we send it to the Finance Committee, it may get killed, and I don't want it to die. I want to see the plans, I want to see the specifications. So could we just deal with it right here in this committee and scratch that? So I'll second Mr. Core's motion
But it's not,
to amend
it's not moving to revenue and finance tonight. It's not being discussed in revenue and finance. It's not being done anywhere but right here at recreation. Not even appropriated.
But that's.
Eventually it was moved.
I understand.
So why don't we just strike it?
Right, just strike that portion of the motion and the rest of the statement.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Making a substitute.
Okay, you're doing a substitute motion.
Yes.
All right, now I need a second.
I second
Mr. Crater. So the substitute motion by Mr. Core, and so all we're doing, except for that Revenue and Finance Committee for appropriation of funds. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Second, now discussion. Mr. Martin was first.
There's a simple method to all this. Why don't you just reopen the committee? Because all this scratching out, remember, this is going to the archives in Baton Rouge, everything that we do, okay? I'm not comfortable with just taking a pencil and just scratching across it, okay?
We appreciate it, Mr. Martin, but
Okay.
he's already made a.
I understand it. And then the other question I have, and the council, y'all know where I'm going. We want to build bathrooms. When are we going to finish the one at the Martin Luther King?
Okay, you're getting off track, Mr. Martin. There's a motion on the floor. There's a motion on the floor, offered by Mr. Core, seconded by Mr. Crater. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Mr. Still in discussion, I'm sorry. Mr. Cavell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can see where there'd be some confusion possibly in the understanding, but as it reads, it says it referred to the Revenue Finance Committee. Not that it's to be decided on tonight. It's to alleviate having to do what we did last week, where going through the Recreation Department, then sending it to Finance Committee. This automatically sends it next month to the Finance Committee for appropriation for full council. That's how it should be. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. A more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Hey,
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Craig.
Thank you. Under non-action items, Recreation Director Peter Kirsch presented the monthly Recreation Department report. City Engineer Tim Mater had no updates to report. And there was no further business to come before the Recreation Committee, and the Recreation Committee recessed.
Thank you. Next is Zoning and Annexation Committee. Mr. Folkman is not
Point
here.
of order, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
That last vote was a motion, was a vote on the amended, not the full motion.
That's correct. My apologies. Point of order. That was for the motion, and it was all in favor. All right, so now,
So now you have to reread the motion
Motion.
as
Yes.
amended.
Give it back.
Okay, I'd like to open up the Recreation Committee again.
you're good, go ahead.
Okay, good. All right, under action items, a motion was offered by Alderman Jeff Cavell and seconded by Alderman Clint Crater to authorize the preparation of construction plans and specifications for construction of new restrooms at Miller Stadium and Hinskins Park, for remodeling existing restrooms at Hinskins Park, for an umpire dressing room, and air-conditioned existing restrooms at the Bronco concession stand. That motion carried and ayes open.
Second.
Offered by Mr. Crater, seconded by Mr. Core. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for that correction.
Mr. Mayor, I'm abstaining from voting on that. I don't understand what.
That's fine. Mr. Martin. Okay,
And the Recreation Department Committee recess.
thank you. Next is Zoning and Annexation Committee. Mr. Folkman is not here. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. The Zoning and Annexation Committee convened Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, at 4 p.m. Council chambers. Quorum was present. On the action item, the motion was offered by myself and seconded by Alderwoman Kim Stringfellow to consider approving the application to re-subdivide the property as shown on preliminary and final plat showing 4.170 acres situated on section 33, Township 9 South, Range 1 East in Acadia Parish, shown as Tract 8 in the city of Crowley, Acadia Parish. Upon the favorable recommendation of the City of Crowley Planning Commission, motion carried and I so move.
Offered by Mr. Martin.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Core. Discussion. Just want to remind y'all that, and I know you saw it on your plat, but then it's over by Northside Assembly. Okay, and this is only for the planning commission recommendation, that is correct. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
A motion was offered by myself and seconded by Alderwoman Kim Stringfellow to consider allowing the application to re-subdivide the property as shown on preliminary and final plat showing 2.246 acres situated in section 43, Township 9, South Range 1 East in Acadia Parish, shown as Lot 5A in the city of Crowley, Acadia Parish, upon the favorable recommendation of the City of Crowley Planning Commission. Motion carried and I so move.
Second.
Offered by Mr. Martin, seconded by Mr. Core. Discussion. And if you remember, there's no physical address on that. That was on the Rice Capital Parkway and Lot 5, which is located not far from USDA office.
Can I,
And
Mr. Mayor? Have we come to a conclusion? I remember Attorney Landry was giving us a synopsis on
Yes.
whether they could have one doctor or two doctors or what have you. Has that been?
that is another matter of its own.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Under non-action items, John O'Reilly and Mr. Landry spoke on the re-subdivision, well, Attorney Landry spoke on the re-subdivision of the properties mentioned above. City Engineer Tim Mater had nothing to report for the month. Mr. Landry voiced opinion and discussed the Mr. Attorney Landry voice opinion and discuss with the council on what exactly the definition of a medical facility Zone C3 related to. That's all I ask. Okay, may there be nothing further to come before the Zone and Annexation Committee, committee recess.
Thank you, sir. Next is Public Safety, Mr. Core.
Thank you, Mayor. The Public Safety Committee convened Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, at 4 p.m. in the council chambers. Quorum was present. Under action items, a motion was offered by Alderman Vernon Martin and seconded by Alderwoman Kim Stringfellow to approve the application for a retail beer and liquor permit for Go Free LLC. The motion carried and I so move.
Second.
Offered by Mr. Ford, seconded by Ms. Stringfellow. Discussion? Okay. Mr. Reggie abstained. Let the record show Mr. Reggie abstained. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
On a non-action item, Chief of Police Chief Bruce R. presented a monthly police department report. Fire Chief Louis Romero delivered his monthly fire department report. Alderman Brian Core read a report from City Inspector. Actually, that's not correct, Mayor. I referred to the City Inspector's report that was emailed to the council members. I didn't read it. I referred to it.
Okay.
And then Mr. Mark Hutchinson gave a presentation for Blue Line Safety regarding school zone safety solutions. One thing I'd like to just mention, Mayor, is that I'm very pleased to report the four-way stop signs installed at Navy Park has alleviated speeding, and I want to thank the council and citizens for supporting this effort. I intend to have the police department perform another traffic study to confirm the results. There was no further action to come before the Public Safety Committee, and the committee recess.
Thank you. Next is Public Buildings, Mr. Woodward, and we will take up that particular item.
Public Building Committee convened Wednesday, October the 5th, 2022 at 4 p.m. in the council chamber. There was a quorum. No more than 30 minutes ago, we amended the agenda to bring up the American Legion Post 506 to see if they could have the MLK Center, like the Homeland Security Center, being that
Co-sponsor.
Yes.
Co-sponsor, yes.
Making a motion to co-sponsor.
make a motion to co-sponsor.
I'll second it.
Offered by Mr. Woodridge, seconded by Mr. Cavell. Discussion?
Any discussion?
This,
Mr. Moore. He had his hand up. For discussion.
huh?
Oh, he didn't have the hand up, oh, I'm sorry.
Man, I'm in so much pain.
Okay, that's all right, well, let's, okay, Mr. Cavell.
I appreciate Mr. Reagan and your interpretation of what is required. And I feel that, particularly in today's age, we have a sense of patriotism that's being lost within our youth and in public in general, as well as a historical perspective that needs revitalization. If such an event does bring this to the people who attend the ceremony, I think that we should be okay with the public benefit, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, I want to ask you, have you discussed, or Mr. Woodward, have you all discussed this with Ms. Carroll?
Yes, matter of fact, she, I thought she would be here. I don't know if we have any members of it, but the good thing is that she is waiting on just the up or down vote on it. But her and Mr. Brackens is, I think, the adjutant now. I'm not sure, but they are in full agreement, and they were praying that this would come to fruition. So yes, they are
She
definitely.
didn't send out a lot of invitations.
Well, what it is, basically, they have started sending them out, but, if you know Carolyn do what due diligence. Carolyn gonna find a way to bring them, make them bring them back. And
Yes.
give them, if she gotta put them in the mailbox, Carolyn gonna take care of it, I promise. Thank you.
Ms. Stringfellow.
Thank you, Mayor. What's the date?
I'm not sure, Mayor,
October 24th.
the 24th, yes, okay, the Saturday, yes, the 24th.
Yes. All right. Mr. Woodridge. Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Mr. Woodridge?
On the non-action, a motion was made by myself to, well, we already took care of that.
Yes.
There was a discussion on Alderman Vernon Martin event.
Which one? Yeah.
That's it, this follow.
There was no further business coming before public business committee, so we recessed.
Okay, thank you. Insurance and personnel. Ms. Shrink.
Thank you, ma'am. Insurance and Personnel Committee convened October 5th, 2022. We did have a forum. There were no action items or non-action items. There was no other business to come before the Insurance and Personnel Committee, and the committee recessed.
Thank you. Next, Community and Economic Development, Mr. Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. Community and Economic Development Committee convened Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, 4 p.m. in the council chambers. Quorum was present. Under action items, a motion was made by myself, seconded by Alderman Jeff Bevell to authorize the resolution of the mayor and board of aldermen of the city of Crowley, Katy Parish, Louisiana, to submit an agreement associated with the city of Crowley Pavilion. Motion carried. We already did that at the beginning. Under non-action items, I gave the tourism director's report, the Katy Parish Chamber of Commerce report, and the Crowley Garden Club report on upcoming events. There will be a Halloween event for the children called Nightmare on Mill Street on October 31st. All events will be posted to the website. Callie Zonbreaker with Crowley Main Street gave her monthly report. Alderman Clint Crater voiced his opinion on reintroducing this streetscape program, and there was no further business to come before Community and Economic Development Committee and the committee recess.
Thank you, sir. Next, Revenue and Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Revenue and Finance Committee convened on Wednesday, October 5, 2022 at 4 p.m. in the council chambers. The quorum was present. For action items, a motion was made by myself, but was not seconded to approve an appropriation of $598,000 from an infrastructure reserve account to the Recreation Department for the construction of a new restroom at Miller Stadium and Hinchton Park. Also to remodel existing restrooms at Hinchton's for an umpire changing room and to air condition existing restrooms at Bronson concession stands. The motion was failed. There were no non-action items and no other business to come before the Revenue and Finance Committee. The committee then recessed.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, engineer?
Mayor, I have a question for Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, when will the building and resurfacing of the streets resume again in Ward 2, which would be the south route? Looks like the crew said
I'm sorry.
disappeared.
I'm sorry. I'm call point of order here. I know you have a question, but if you don't mind asking after the meeting. So I'm asking for a motion for adjournment, please.
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Reddy. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Cole. Thank you. Adjournment. Not official.
Jeff, thanks for your support, buddy. Jeff, thanks for your support.
The contract extends till January 26th. It should be done between we don't tell the contract.
So Tim, what did I not say?
Oh, you need my signature? Yes, sir.